So your play-by-play caster Zephyr, joined by the lovely photography Raptor as my color.
Yeah, and really excited to be getting into this draft after honestly just a awesome game one where I think DAO showed why they were able to beat um names are still new to me. Degenerate Esports?
Yes.
All right,
DAO
Degenerate.
should beat Esports. Good
Yep.
job.
So
I'm proud
they
of you.
thank you. I'm learning. I'm learning.
It's pretty good.
They showed why they were able to take that team out, and just I think in a really strong game one where they showed just a lot of proactivity, a lot of smart early game plays, mid lane roaming. I think I think Saturation played the Graves very well in terms of where he was on the map. But now in this game, it's going to be very different because we do see Darkside getting the Seraphine on the B1 that makes it through draft. DAO decides to let that through over the Udyr, and I guess if you're trying to play a very proactive gameplay, like we already saw, there are ways to take down the Seraphine if you're able to just bombard with enough. So I'm guessing they're hoping to just take that same approach here with the Rel Kai'Sa lock-in.
I will say for Darkside, we wanted to see something pretty aggressive going into the, further extent of these series. And last time they played what was a more scaling comp, and that's not their style, right?
Mm,
They don't play scaling comp. So to see them come
yeah.
back, Seraphim, Ezreal, Lilia, I like this a lot better.
Yeah, I do think this opens up for them to have a lot more flexibility in terms of taking fights, taking engages, and playing around that. Seraphine Ezreal is definitely not like a traditional strong side lane in the sense of they're going to be looking for a lot of 2v2s with Rel Kai'Sa. But when you start getting into those, skirmishes are where these two champions I think really have the potential to shine over that duo. So as long as they're able to kind of not take needless fights in lane, I think they can come into early game skirmishes and bring a lot of value to their team. And then
Right.
Lilia is just, I mean, fear the deer.
Fear the deer. Not as
Fear
much
the
as I fear
deer.
the Seraphine, the pop star, right? Pop star
True.
much more scary than deer at this point. Or doe. It should be a doe. Use the right gender
No, no,
pronouns on our
deer
champion.
is gender neutral.
Is deer gender neutral?
Yes.
Is buck not? Is buck the
Yes.
okay,
Buck is
so
a
buck
male
and doe.
deer.
Buck and doe.
Yes.
Alright, I'm learning my zoology here,
I'm
folks.
learning my excellency teams and you're learning about deer. We're both learning.
My dad would be proud. Either way, Dow coming through though with the Aatrox is a nice sight to see after
Yep.
Colton's amazing performance there in the first game. I mean, that was incredible, playing off of some of the aggression from Adrenaline into being one of the star-studded, engaged kind of carries for the team. That was amazing.
And
I love that.
and And they don't respect the Vlad. They choose to ban Camille Malphite, so they're saying these are things that we think the Aatrox will struggle into. So let's set Colton up to have once again a lane where at the very least he can weather any initial storm and then just kind of be that same rock that he was in game one,
Right.
where it can then just, the rock rolls over the boulder or the rock rolls over the hill and turns into a rampaging boulder. um, but then,
Ooh.
oddly enough, I didn't use that analogy for Malphite. But
Oh.
the I think the Renekton pick can do a lot of what maybe the Darius pick was trying to do, but way better.
Right. I like the Renekton because it does lead to more early aggression that can be sustained and capitalized on
Yeah.
against the Aatrox, but it falls off and does not have as much of a place,
Alright.
you know,
Renekton does not fall off right now. The
uh,
champion is
against
insane.
an Aatrox, my boy.
I mean, yeah, against, like,
In
if you
fairness, you tell me you look at late game Colton Sun from last and you compare to a late game Renekton, just a
Oh, yeah,
standard one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
It's going to fall off.
I
I don't
actually
care how
okay,
well he does.
I love the Cassiopeia pick there because that will make Renekton start to fall off a bit because
Oh, really?
she's able to just oh my gosh.
Look at me. Look at
Are
me,
are
photography.
you supposed to support me? We're
Not
a
an excellency,
team.
baby.
We're a team.
Only for 1 week, look at me.
Anyways, the Kha'Zix picks I'm actually not as huge of a fan of here. I would have liked to see something that I think brings a bit more team fight ability. Right now, I guess he's thinking, "Okay, let me get on the back line, assassinate the Seraphine, assassinate the Lilia."
Needs to chase
But
at least.
yeah, I just think that's one of those things that's a little bit harder to execute, but I think their plan is last game, we were really able to hit the ground running from the beginning. They don't ne I think they're thinking they don't necessarily need to put that much respect on it, and that all of that early game aggression and proactivity will lead to a point where it won't matter if Seraphine could theoretically peel Kha'Zix because Kha'Zix will just delete her before she knows he exists, disappear, and then do it again to Ezreal or Corki.
Right. I think in fairness it could work, but we'll have to wait and see. Either way, I do like the setup though. If we pull back and look at Darkside, they
Yep.
definitely garnered themselves a little bit more of the oppressive damage, kind of scaling into the monsters that they usually are, but not so much relying on the mid to late game. You have the pressure from the get
Yeah,
go. You have the
that's,
ability to play around it.
I
Um,
don't think Lilia brings as much early aggression as I would've liked. I think they're still playing a little bit more of the scaling game that I wasn't too happy with from the last game, to be honest.
I think they definitely have more early presence though in comparison. And to be honest, the
Yeah,
terms of presence, let's not even look at it from a comp point of view. If we go back and we look at like the Hecarim from game one from Wizward, did it really have a presence on the map? Not really. There was
true.
not a lot of great plays that came through from this jungler as we looked across the board. And there's a lot that can be said as we kind of go through each individual person.
Yeah.
Did Alucard make appropriate ganks compared to what was Dow? When they were 4 man, five
I
man
mean,
into
is
the bot top.
Vlad going to ever really leave mid lane?
Right, but at the same time, you have to think from a playstyle perspective, if no one's ever leaving their lanes just naturally across the board, like, yes, Corki is given package, and we
Yeah,
should
okay,
expect
okay,
her to
I
see
see I
more
see I
rotations.
see where you're coming from. It's less of, like, the traditional early aggression where we're gonna hit them hard and we're gonna hit them fast so much as, like, they have a lot of rotation ability.
Right.
Okay, okay,
And
okay, I see where you're
I
coming
can
from.
see how they have
Yeah,
more aggression early from that point of view rather than looking at from a comp side.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
was generally
okay.
footing in their own lanes, and then Dow got some great rotations off from movement from all of them. Saturation,
Mhm,
Coltonson, especially with the teleports, Void coming through the heroic entrances. Those abilities allowed them to make those 4 or 5 mans come through. It wasn't,
mhm.
even though we'll probably still see them have that aggressive tendencies, at least they might be matched this time around from Darkside.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I can agree with that. I definitely think the dark side
Whether
has the
it's
ability.
successful or not, leave
Yeah,
it up to the
that's
players, all
next
right?
time on
The
Excellency.
tools are with them. I can't tell you how to hammer, I'll just let you know that you've got a hammer, all
There
right?
you go, there you
How you
go,
get
I
the
like
nail
it.
in there? No clue, that's up to you, bud. You might as well turn the hammer
Well,
down and just bam,
I'll at
bam.
the very least tell you how they should hammer the nail down, whether or not
Hey,
they will.
I'm in no control whether that hammer and that nail looks as straight as can be.
Exactly, and then for the side of DAO, I think they're once again looking for kind of like a heavy engage comp. And this is where I think the Kha'Zix is weird. I think he's looking for a flank, and so you're really entirely relying on Rel and Aatrox to get in there and find that engage. But they are engaging onto a Seraphine, so they have to coordinate very well with the Kha'Zix because if they go too early, Seraphine will be able to get all of her CC off before she's threatened by Kha'Zix, and so then the Aatrox and the Rel are locked up, but it can just get really off balance really fast. So I'm really looking for how they can coordinate with saturation in these mid game fights that I think it are will be where they can kind of really pull ahead in the game.
At the same time, we don't have to bring it up too much, but Lilia in major team fights is going to be a huge problem
Oh
for this
yeah,
comp, right?
sleep.
Lilting Lullaby is going to make sure that they're not really available to counter out a lot of the pressure on Dow's side of the board. You may want to go in Rel, you may want to go in with Aatrox, but suddenly you're in
Mhm.
a terrible position, and you allow Ezreal, Renekton, or someone Corky to get into that backside, rip apart Lexar or someone else before they have the chance to respond all off of a great CC pull from something like that. So I'd be interested to see how Wizward plays into it, even if we didn't seem as proactive as we would have liked on the Hecarim from game one.
Yep, hopefully we see him making a bit more moves. Still playing a four-legged champion. The really valuable insights coming at you here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I
You're
didn't
welcome.
notice, but now I
Yeah.
do know.
The more you know. Um, but I'm actually really excited to see Rel. I think coordinating in competitive play with Rel is difficult because the champion does no damage on her own really. But
Mm,
if she's able to find that moment, I mean, she can
it's hot.
single-handedly set her team up to just wipe. So
Right.
it's I'm really excited to see how DAO is able to coordinate together. They have a team that can really show and flex their ability to work as a team, which I think they already highlighted they can do in game one.
Well, like I said, I can tell them how to hammer, but I can't be the one to force them to hammer out. So these two teams, they're going to be hammering it the best they can into the final game of this specific set. We're going to be right back as we go through a short spectator lay. Stick around for a great finale. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Excellency Light League. If you're just joining us, you are turning into the second set, game two here of Darkside Academy versus Divine Ascension Obsidian. Divine Ascension Obsidian come offing a really, really great game one, now in the face of maybe finishing this best of two out here or going 1-1 tying it out. So your play-by-play caster, Zephyr, joined by the lovely color Photography Raptor.
Thank you so much. And just as we get into looking at the level ones, as I love doing, we have two 5 points across the board. I think that makes sense for both teams. Neither has a particularly strong level one, enough to where you could really warrant an engage against the other. So they're just gonna 5 point. I like the early back from the Kazakhs. He just goes and drops his ward somewhere. There's not a safe spot for him to drop it in the enemy jungle, so he just drops it, goes and back and starts his blue side. So I don't think either team knows where the jungler is starting. But once again, we do have Dow getting off a deep ward in the enemy jungle that Darkside isn't quite able to match, and that ward is on that Raptor spot that I like so much, and I do think that it will help them track
Right.
where saturation's going.
So hopefully that kind of plays into it this time around for Wizward. Maybe allows him to make more immediate aggressive ganks and be a bit more proactive than we discussed.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, that's Darkside that got the good ward this time, not Dow.
Yes. Darkseid actually playing it appropriately.
Yeah, so they swap spots this time.
Yes, sir. That's how it works. We switch sides.
Love it.
Welcome to League of Legends, Raptor.
Oh, thank you. What is this game about?
Uh,
Who's the main
destroy
character?
Nexus. Destroy Nexus.
Who's the main character?
Uh, they would lead you to believe Lux.
Ah, okay,
And
okay.
honestly, given skin sales, probably. Oh
Ah,
wow,
true.
oh, that is
That was a
really good.
huge trade for Colton. So top lane matchups are definitely a weaker area of mine. So I'm not sure how this one technically should go. He does go in and heal it up there. I great little rush in, get the quick Q off, but
Ooh,
saturation.
good gank. Saturation 3.
Ooh.
Good. The flash. That's going to be allowing them to come back towards that top side now.
Yep, but does get the dark harvest stack off as well, so he's already starting to build those up. So really good to see that. That's not a rune that I see super often for Kha'Zix. Typically, I see the electrocute, but I think I think it's rough to say whether or not that's more correct. As bot lane's just kind of trading back and forth. That's what we'll kind of see here is just these little short trades, but I don't really think we'll see any all ins. But I mean, I personally think I would have gone the electrocute here because when Seraphine's going to be shielding, you can't get Dark Harvest off through a shield, so that could really mess with Saturation's damage and how much he's expecting to do.
Absolutely. We'll have to wait and see, though. It's still up in the air. They're
Yeah.
not quite confirmed. Ooh, good
Ooh,
ground
Blade.
there. Wizward playing aggressive, but he might be in a bad spot, looking as low as he is with the Vine rotating.
Yeah, but he landed at least one
Oh,
ability.
here's
So
that return
yep.
gank. Saturation 3 immediately jumping on top. He's stunned through, but he's still gonna go down. First blood
First
for that.
blood. Yep, really good return gate from Saturation. Knows the flash is down, lets him push right back out. As Adrenaline just seems to do, he seems to be just a player that permanently pushes, and they will take advantage of that tendency.
Well, at that point now, you're putting Adrenaline in a pretty poor place for something that was supposed to win early, and we'll have to wait and see how it affects the next 5 minutes, but we're hoping a bit more aggression on the pick of Renekton would allow him to be more contestable against Coltonson, so we'll see how he may stunt his growth if he still can, but it definitely does not bode well for that kind of narrative.
Yeah, and I mean, we already have Saturation coming back to the top lane because what
Oh
does
my
Adrenaline
gosh.
do? He gets back to lane and
Super aggressive.
pushes
Flash,
up.
triple knock up. He's stunned out. He thinks he's going to win, but oh no, here's the bug. Can't slap him away. The crocodile tries to dash, but it's not
Uh,
enough. Another kill for Saturation 3, and now he can spread this. He can take the advantage and start
yep.
pushing onto guys like a Naro, Pub, or Alucard later.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be so easy for Colton to be able to take that gold and make a TP play down bot with Saturation, and then yes, you have a Seraphine who can disengage some things, but if you're being engaged on from multiple angles, she can only stop one.
Hey. Whew.
And
We'll have to
that's
see team
scary.
fight wise how that kind of plays out though, because that's not going to be a major point right now, especially since ganking these lanes as Saturation on the Kazakhs won't really be of fruition. You know, you go for Alucard, suddenly he's out. He's quirky, right?
Yeah.
You go
Oh yeah.
for Hub or Inaro, and one dashes away, the other, charms you, and in a quick second, you've turned around and you're actually in a poor position.
Yeah, true. It can turn very quickly. I think where I'd like to see it come through is just kind of this coordinated 4-man, 5-man play bot where maybe you have 1 to 2 TPs, and that's really just gonna come through in terms of a
We
dive.
saw
I
that in
don't
game one.
Yeah, and
It's
I
fine.
do yeah, I do think the team is strong enough to where they can pull that kind of coordinated play out, and that's what I'm hoping to see is for Divine to be able to the player, not the team, um, get them pushed under tower and have the setup ready to where you're coming in from multiple angles. So even if they do stop the instant rel engage, Rel will still have the tower aggro, the shield, and be able to at the very least tank up a bit of tower aggro, and maybe you trade the Rel. But if you're crashing a massive wave down in bot, it's fine as they just make the early play for Dragon, and it's not going to be contested fully on the top side.
At this point, though, they managed to take drag, pull that one through first for themselves, and if anything kind of rings true deja vu, we did see Dow pull out all four of those to begin with, so it continues to bode, and now maybe saturation goes in, maybe he doesn't. I'd expect him back, but he does
Oh
reveal himself.
no, Inaro, you used your E.
Nothing there for him, and now Colson on the top side taking advantage of the level 6 advantage on World Ender here. Pretty aggressive on Adrenaline, can't quite find that kill, and I mean, it's good. He's going to get it back up, but Adrenaline will have Flash next time around, so I don't think you'll be getting any kills on him for the time being. Unless
Yeah,
Saturation ganks, then who cares?
yeah, and it's he's gonna crash this wave in. I think Adrenaline will lose maybe about a wave on it, so it's definitely not the end of the world. um, but
Ah,
I mean it's a nice little advantage that he's getting out of this, and I think Colton definitely showed that he's a player who can capitalize on small advantages. He seems to be really good at just playing patient and waiting for the right things to happen. And when you're playing something like Aatrox, I think that's a really good habit to have. In that you don't need to force fights, but when he can, he knows that that's his moment, and it's just a really smart player, and I'm really impressed by it.
yeah, I think it's good, and we'll have to wait and see how that eeps out, especially as we do see the rotation come back around. At this point, though, pretty strong lead across the board from Dow, just in general. I will say Alucard doing good to manage out Void here, but we expected that, right? And, Void won't really be coming online for mid to late. So overall, it's pretty standard for everybody. I do like a Naro CS lead, but it's not really anything, nothing crazy.
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy. It's just a wave, and it
So,
looks like that's
hey,
pushing
that's
in.
what they say before the tsunami hits.
Well, it's not even all of a wave because it's they had something pushing in, so it's gonna get mostly equalized, I think. Yeah, a few minions here, so it's really only like a 4 to 5 CS lead at most, assuming that he cleans all of those up. Mid lane, there is actually a pretty significant gap, but I think that's to be expected in that matchup. I
Right,
think
that's fine.
Cassio does struggle a little bit, but it's
Ooh,
ooh
Divine flash through there. That's a good encore charm, but the teleport is through from Void. But not even before that, Pub goes down. Now grounded though, and Naro is going to be tagged out.
ooh.
Good teleport from Void to play off that one at least.
Yeah, I think when you are playing against something like a Seraphine Ezreal lane, those moments when they're so far away from their tower are the moments that they're exploitable. And Divine has a really smart engage where he just gets to
Look at the time on that ward though too. That is so close to going down at any given point. Perfect on that, really.
yep. Oh yeah, and just
Ooh,
takes that key moment to get his flash in.
Adrenaline doesn't
Oh,
even get to flash out of that one. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I mean that's another solo kill in the top lane in this set where I think knowing that these teams are going to be playing another game after, I mean I really want Adrenaline to just cool down and stop and not necessarily try to force out these fights that he just keeps losing one after another. I mean he's already 2 levels down, and that's only going to get farther and farther extended as Colton keeps finding these advantages, crashing these waves. They bounce back and he's freezing them, and then finding an engage and just going to keep rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And Wizward has once again just kind of been AFK farming his jungle.
Hmm. Yeah, we expected a little bit more proactivity coming through with the Lily pick, but it really hasn't shined in any way, and that was something similar that we questioned when he was on the Hecarim, right? So neither of these jungle picks have looked great. I will say I'm really curious to see how the Lilia performs as we get to more that mid to late game, have the Lilting Lullaby major team fights, and maybe we see some capitalization from Darkside. But if you're letting the entire side of your map go in everyone's, I'm sorry, if you let the entire side of your map go to awry and suddenly everyone else you're playing against is super fed, how do you make anything happen, right? You need to be more proactive. Saturation was on the bot side, on the top side, again and again. Lily can make and do the same kind of pressure. Wizard's just not.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where like yes, Kha'Zix kind of wants to find that early advantage and just starting to get ahead so we can really threaten come this point in the game, this 12 to 15 minute
Right.
dragon fight that's about to happen. And I mean Lily at the same time, she's been level 6 and hasn't made a play with her ultimate. And I mean, that's really the time when you want to see Lilia, come mid, go bot, do
Wow, look at
something to
this.
try to find an advantage for
All
her
five
team.
members.
Yeah, and now, ooh, the Herald does spawn on the wrong side though, so the
Yeah.
eye comes.
I don't think they're going to
And I
get
mean,
the
they
trade-off
just
there.
can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the Herald won't get into wave. It unfortunately just
But it
wasn't
did its
on
job.
the
It did its
the.
job. It forced
It,
attention to be
yeah,
on
it
it.
kept forcing the mid lane. And really all they need to do here is they just need to let Renekton stay in top lane, try to farm back up, try to get back into it.
Ooh, wow. That was pretty aggressive. Alucard barely got chained, and Colton uses that World Ender as a result, but nothing comes through.
Oh
And
boy.
a lot of whiffs on the alts across the board from both sides. I will say, no one hits it. No encores. No petrifying gazes. It all goes awry. Literally,
Yeah, the
the
pace
only
has been
thing lost. Oh, my apologies. Let me.
no, 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 keep going, keep going.
The only thing lost here from the side of Dow as they pick up that, dragon for himself is they give a little bit of gold back to Adrenaline as he cracks a bit of that tower. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. They lost nothing, and it's something that I'm actually surprised to see from what I was expecting to be a more top seeded team like Darkside, in that they all just kind of sat around watching the dragon being taken instead of okay, let's gang up mid. It's
Adrenaline
just a
has a
red.
teleport, you can maybe
Yeah,
make it
like
a five-man play, but it doesn't come
or
through.
even if we don't go for any kind of old play on it, let's at the very least try to push down a wave and get some tower plates, get some pressure
Now look
somewhere.
at this,
Oh my
Colton taking
gosh,
it. You've
Colton.
got the god on his way, but it doesn't really matter. That's a good lilting lullaby,
Oh,
but
he
not before they get the skill off. 3 goes
wow.
down, but now Alucard's there for the punishment, goes under turret. He's going to be taken pretty low. All he has to do is throw a couple missile barrages, but still can't find even that.
Colton, you monster. That was I mean, he's done so great at these kind of fighting off these attempted dives almost 1v2 where then he knows he's calling up for his team. There's I don't know who's calling those rotations, but they're answering it so well where Colton just buys so much time. His team comes up and they just turn the whole fight around. Yes, they do lose the tower off of it, so great job from Darkside in just being able to find something off of that. They're keeping the gold lead down to a 1k despite all of the map disadvantages they're having.
Right.
So good job for them for at least being able to turn something. But I mean just it's gonna get harder and harder if they just can't kill anyone though, because yes they get a tower, but it's just kind of
That's
a
it.
happenstance that they get it. It's not even necessarily like they won the fight.
Right. Ooh, at this point, you've got them pushing out pretty far here, Naro, and then Pupcock steps up. Good encore to get the charm off on Lexar. Going to be throwing down the exhaust before he gets a chance to do any damage. Divine is under turret now, not where you want to
Ooh,
be. And
yeah.
Naro picks that one up. They're both looking
Oh,
worse. Where good heal to save the day, and he has to use the cleanse to get out, and the flash as well as Wizward finally arrives in a fight we expected him to see. He's taken low through the passive, and
oh
he
my
goes
god,
down though. Lilting
Darkside!
Lullaby, the only saving grace of that fight.
Yeah, so I think Wizward just uses his R and then just kind of stays within the auto range of Kaisa. I think what he wants to do there is actually just, he lands an ability. Like yes, he missed a couple, but he finally lands his ability. Use your passive and just run away. You can be in ult range from far, and then you come back in and secure the kill when Lexar's
Right.
not autoing you anymore.
One thing to note, though, during all of that, we tried to see Void rotate down, but he gets taken out there by Alucard. Now, Coltonson deep in the bot lane here, trying to find kills as Void arrives, finally off of an immediate teleport from his revival. Pubbo, I'm sorry, buddy, but there's nothing you can do there. Void's taken out.
Just I mean at the very least Inara gets away. So I
Right?
mean
I mean,
you
it's
don't, you
something to
don't
play
lose
around.
two. Yeah, you don't lose two. You still get bot turret. So at the very least they're gonna trade bot turrets here because we should see Kaiserel walk up and finish that off. I don't think there's anything anyone's gonna be able to do about it. I don't like that Inara actually just used his ultimate on the wave. That's not something I'd like to see Ezreal's do because your ult doesn't do a lot of damage to minions in the early game, so it's not doing much to keep a wave pushed.
Right.
And I think if I don't know if he'd done the same thing earlier, but like if he has the ult at the beginning of that 2v2, I think that's a clean 2-0 for Darkside.
Oh,
But he didn't
teleport.
have it.
Coming
Oh
through
yeah.
there from Adrenaline. He's looking
Adrenaline.
for something. That's a big lilting lullaby to play around. Good drowsy, but amazing petrifying gaze onto Adrenaline to prevent him out. He's taken out as a result, but an amazing encore of the walls. We see Corki go deep into that back line there. Lexar chases, gets the response, but not before he goes down. Saturation tries to leap and kill Alucard, but he's going to leave it up to Colton's son. Now Colton, the only one left alive here from Dow, going to be forced to disengage.
Oh, you
Fight
can't
goes
go
in
for that.
favor. No, you guys
It's
can't.
scary.
Do not fight through
It's
that. And
scary.
oh, he walks right in. Pubbo, he's in the chains there. Gets the pullback, but
Oh.
not before he gets the third. But it doesn't matter. That damage is nasty. Goes back towards the Seraphim. The shield's available. There's the exhaust. Maybe keeps him alive
Oh
for
no,
longer.
they get him.
It's shut down.
He started taking the Ocean
Beautiful
Drake.
job. All members there of Dow taken out by Darkside. A 2 for 5.
And I really do have to credit Inaro, and I think Alucard did a lot in that fight. Wizard started it off with an awesome Lilting Lullaby
We
to get a
talked about
couple of
it too
members
in
safe.
draft.
Yeah,
That's a changer for the
it,
team.
and I do think that the early game, even though it went so horrible for their top side, they find a fight, and if they can keep finding those key engages, even though they lose this dragon, I think they're starting to see the light and the path forward, and I want to see them keep playing towards that. They're by no means out, and I think if they can keep letting Corky scale, he'll start doing more and more damage and not necessarily die on the outside of those fights. If they can keep finding strong Seraphine ultis to stop any kind of counter engage or engage, then they'll be able to continue wiping. The only problem is that on the front of that, saturation was kind of on the front of the fight. Oh, that's
Ooh.
scary. Yep.
At least they back off, so it's not that scary. All right, Raptor.
And yeah, and so I think if once saturation is more on the side of the fight, then I don't think you necessarily get as clean of a fight for Darkseid as just happened. But I think overall, that's the best we've seen them execute their game plan thus far.
I think it's something to play around for the future, and it shows that they have the tools available to them. But like we've said in the
Mm.
past, it's not in an ease of access situation, right? It
Yep.
has to be. Ooh, actually, Adrenaline going in here with Colton on Wizward, finally seeing the doe make her arrival towards the top side, and Colton's looking worse for wear, taken out finally. My
Yeah.
gosh.
So they make that play. I
And watch
okay.
watch this. Grievous wounds, by
Adrenaline.
the way, is on Adrenaline.
Yeah, I was just about to call it out. Already playing better than last game simply because of that itemization. I don't care that he's 1 in 5. I care that he built the Executioner's Calling. Even though that's the only Grievous wounds, it's still the only Grievous wounds. So I would like to see more. I I I hope that the Seraphine goes for the Chem Tank Purifier here instead of the Moon Staff, or instead of the Staff of Flowing Water. I don't think they necessarily need the move speed as much as giving all of your team 40 to 60% grievous wounds is just absolutely massive, especially when you're looking at Cassiopeia, who's going to be healing off of her poison and E, Aatrox, who's Aatrox, and that's most of the healing right now. But they are threatening an Ocean Soul, so you are going to need that purifier to really back your team up and allow them to have the grievous wounds if they aren't going to buy it themselves. We do see the Lilia pick it up though.
Right. So I honestly think Grievous Wounds will come when it comes for this team, and when it does, it'll definitely make Coltonson look worse for wear this time
Yeah.
around. But he's still in a really great position to be a lead front aggressor for the team. But
Oh yeah.
I think notably Wizward on this Lily is such a huge chunk of the success, and seeing her in a team fight is where I was really waiting and expecting. And then at the same
Yep.
time, you have major engages going deep into that backline, whether it be Alucard or Inaro, all paired with the safety of Pubbo.
I do think that Wizward could perform a little bit stronger in the early game. I think I, I'm happy with how he played that last team
Right.
fight, but there have been a couple of mechanical errors. There was the one fight in the bot lane, and now we're also seeing he's been farming pretty much the whole game, clearing his jungle, but he's still down 20 CS to saturation, who's been putting pressure topside the whole time. So still some
Ooh,
okay.
Colton. He has that whirlwind around. He's looking to make something happen, but he keeps chunked out. Look at no one takes a bad trade except for himself.
Yeah, tries to kind of do something similar to what I think he was thinking in game one, where they kind of engaged on me, but I can turn this. They use something, but instead just takes a lot of his
Ooh,
health.
Satch.
And
No, Satch. That's not the
ooh,
move there. And as a result, Lilting, it actually finds its way all the way onto Colton. But either way,
oh
good true shot barrage. The kill actually goes over to Wizward, surprisingly off. Probably a burn, but
yep.
wow. That's the Liltings we want to see.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for from Wizward, and I think it's just a little bit of impatience coming out from Dow. You know, it's been a much
Saturation did
slower
not need to
game.
go away in any way there.
Exactly.
There's
Exactly.
no need for that.
No, it's been a much slower game for as a whole, and I think Dow was just getting a little bit impatient and really wanted to force the engage before Dragon, and it's not even nearly spawned yet. Like it still has at least another 40 seconds, so it's you don't need to take that, and I, it's just over aggression, I think, and it kind of bit them in the butt there.
And it's almost up now, so gonna see probably
Yep.
a 5v5 here. The ward is contestable, but I will say they do have that additional scuttle in the center if we're talking about
Corki also
Dow
has the
here, so that
package,
helps.
so we have to
And
watch
Corki's
Corki right
fine.
now.
Yes, Lilting Lullaby is going to be up for this fight, I will say, if they start it here in the next 10. True Shot Barrage pulling out early onto Lexar, the person you want it to be. Ooh, very hard aggression from Dow to step onto Alucard there, but at the same time, they're giving away their position onto Dragon. Big flash, no petrifying gaze. Alucard is out, and now major ultimates are down. Big grounding from the
Oh, they
Miasma
walked
as
the
they
package.
burn on the package. Amazing kills from Alucard, turns it around. Now the rest of the team is wiped out. All 5 members of Divine Ascension Obsidian gone. That's a free
Yes,
Baron. That's
you
a
only
free
need yes,
Dragon.
you only need one. You
Everything.
only need one. Good calling. It looks like there was a little bit of just discussion there in the team while they
Who
try to figure out
cares?
what
They
everyone does.
won.
But yeah, exactly. They turned that around. I mean, honestly, it all comes through three members
Without
just kind
Lilting
of
Lullaby, by the
walking
way.
through the package.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
I mean,
disgusting.
Dow just walked through the package. It's on the ground. You see it. Don't walk that way. I think that you can learn lessons from that team fight, and the lesson is don't walk on top of Corky package. It shreds. But I mean, now they're in a position where they're in the lead. They a little bit of discussion while they make the split call, and then they get both dragon. They stop Soul Point. They get Baron, and now they're in a position to where they can start to look to siege up. This is a very very low wave clear team. What they were thinking was, okay, we will just be very early aggressive again, and then we will start to run away with it. We'll get an early soul, and then we'll put so much pressure down that we'll never need to wave clear. The only problem with that strategy is they now need to wave clear, and they don't have the ability to do it. Cassio has some. I
They
don't
got
think
Cass.
it's not the best against Baron minions, but it's at
Lexar
the
and
very
Cass.
least. something.
you know?
Lexar is
It's
not really
something.
wave clear against Baron
It's
minions.
something at least. It's better than a
Yeah.
Aatrox.
Oh, true, true. So now, I'd like to see
They can
them.
try it
I
out.
honestly,
Actually, look at this. Colton's going for
yeah.
adrenaline early with Divine and Satch. They're coming up. Colton's looking worse for wear, but it doesn't matter. 3v1 now. And Adrenaline trying to way off that dominance. He's not going to
Uh,
find success. A great shutdown to play off of, but now 3 members of Dow are topside while you're getting pushed in mid. Teleport's going to
yeah.
come
Oh
through.
my god.
That is a chunk of a true shot barrage.
I would have called for the lilting off of that if I knew it was going to do that much damage. I think if you have the Lily ult on, I think that's a dead Cassio.
2 good turrets now from Darkside, and you look at what they traded here. Okay, you got the kill off of Adrenaline. We
Yep.
take out your mid in this push. I mean, that's huge. The only thing they miss out on is the inhib, but that's okay. That's a great play off of Baron. May not be the 4-1 we
And
wanted, but it did its job.
I honestly think that trying to go up and make the play on the Renekton was the only thing they could do, because
Right.
really all you're going to be able to do is have the Cassio and Kaisa trying to clear the wave, which they can't really do anyways. So I think no matter what, you lose those towers. So at the very least, you're punching back and trying to get something, and you get Baron off of the side wave.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's really great Baron coming out here from Darkside. Is I think they've more or less turned the game at this
Boltman.
point.
Big engage World Ender along with Divine. Oh, look at that
Oh
Magnet
my god.
Storm! Lexar into the back line. Killer Instinct straight onto the carries, taking out all 3 there. Adrenaline, the only one left alive after a very teleport, but that doesn't matter. It's a double 4 saturation as well. All 5 gone in just as fast as the last team fight.
Exactly what I was talking about in draft. If Rel can find those engages, it is huge.
That
She
was
just goes
amazing.
in and pulls everyone in. Exactly. And it doesn't matter that she doesn't necessarily have the damage on her own, because she just has all of that follow up. They coordinated so well to follow the Rel in. So she's just in the middle of everyone, tanking everything, pulling everyone in. And then you just have Aatrox slamming down. And then, I mean, Kaisa and Cass, and I think it was Kaisa that fell on the backside of that. Lexar, or was it Cass? Either way, one of them died. And
They
but
all
that was
died at some point there, Raptor. Good analysis.
that was
Just
just
let you know.
to the true shot that Inara barely managed to get off before he died. But I mean, it leads straight into all of that pressure that Darkside had is instantly gone, going into what is going to be another soul fight for them. And I now I think you have Darkside, who kind of has to play split up, because if they group up like that again, I definitely think Divine has the ability to just press that go button and get in there like that. So it is, but as long as they're staying spread out across the river and just keeping Dow from getting in, I do think they can secure this dragon relatively safely.
Absolutely. And they're already set up with a great chunk of vision here to give them pressure. One notable issue we saw in the last fight around this dragon was so much pressure was put on Alucard that the rest of the team just kind of collapsed. Don't make the same mistake and you find yourself in a better spot. But it looks like instead of dragon, you've got Dow pushing for mid and they're going to try to
I
take
love
the
that
attention
call.
off
I
here. This is
really like that
so
call.
good.
Yeah, I really like that call. They know that they're going into something that's entirely warded, they don't have priority on. So instead, they just run it down mid
Here's
and
the
they're going to
collapse
try to force
possibly.
something.
That's a really
Oh,
good
that's on
lilting
the exactly
lullaby.
who they
Right
want.
onto the carries. Lexar uses that cleanse immediately to get out of it. Void's a little bit low, but it doesn't matter. Divine X ticking through and through, taken out finally here. Colton throws for the World Ender, but it's just too late. He goes down. Now Lexar, being alone on the side here, going to be looking for Wizward. He's going to find just that as he goes down as well. Now it's Inaro versus Alucard, the 2 major carries mid and bot, respectively. 2 for 2.
I think I think they call this one even, but what I want to see is the moment they back, I really want to see Cassio and Kaisa get on this black tone. Oh, they fake it.
Oh, come on, come on.
Oh, I love this. Oh, I love it.
The ward doesn't spot out anything, mind you. It doesn't even tell them that there is a control ward there. That's so important. Void and Lexar step up, but they don't
Oh,
know. Void's
boy,
taken
oh,
immediately.
that's
Alucard over the
great.
wall. Doesn't matter. He got the petrifying gaze. Now Lexar, the only one left through. Divine's running, but I don't think it's going to be quick enough for them here. It's a huge dragon
Yeah,
going to take, of
it's.
course.
Oh
Don't let
yeah, they
Lexar
can take away
steal.
the soul.
And Inaro steps up. He knows what he's got
Oh
to
yeah.
do. There you go.
Yep.
Easy shutdown. free dragon to take, a good ocean to keep this team alive.
Wow, that was really well played by Alucard and Inaro just to kind of really be patient, wait for them to show, because you know that your team is coming off of this relatively fast, and you have the better 5v5 at Dragon. All you need to do is wait and make sure they don't take it. If they don't take it, then that's fine. That's what you want. If they do try to go for it, then you have a great over the wall engage with
Oh, this
Porky
is so
Ezreal.
good. They have no
Oh,
idea. They're not prepared for it at
oh, they
all. That's a
look
free
at where they blue
Baron.
trinketed. The blue trinket went on the other side of the Baron pit.
Divine
It didn't
stepping
even
up
check
here to
it.
clear, just kind of like set up, but he's about to find out pretty quickly that that Baron's already
Oh my
gone.
gosh. The immediate run to Baron call just sets them right back up again to start pushing. This time, I just get the top wave pushing. You don't need to have your 4-1 there. If anything, I think you're looking for a 1-3. This is one of the times I think you're actually looking for a 1-3-1. You have so much pressure that if you can spread their wave clear thin enough, that you can just eat everything away. There's nothing they'll really be able to do to answer it. So all you have to do here is spread them out thin and let the Baron minions do your job for you. You don't have to try that hard because the Baron minions got your back. And as long as they're able to just push these waves in, get everything under control, and play safely enough to where they can't just get a big group engage off, then I think they're fine. But Inaro is just a little bit out on his own
Ooh,
there.
Satch, why are you
Oh,
going
that.
into that? That
Oh
is not
no.
the play. He's gonna
Yeah.
burn out
They don't let
with
him hit. They don't let him
no
hit any minions and
from hit.
heal.
That's gotta feel
They don't.
really bad.
Oh my gosh. It's so this time I think it's Dow who's been making these little tiny errors that have really just bit them in the
This is the
back.
dark side that deserves to be in the top four, mind
Yeah.
you.
I mean these are two totally different teams night and day between games 1 and 2. It's I mean I still think that Darkside could have been more proactive in the early game than they were.
Right.
I think that we saw issues in their early game, but I think they learned their mistakes from game
Ooh,
one,
cold.
i.e., they built grievous wounds.
There's Dominus World in there. He's gonna back off. But yeah, like you said, Bill Grievous wounds, play more proactive early, all
Yep.
things they could have improved on.
This game they did build grievous wounds, so credit to them. So they've adapted in some areas. They still have some to work on, but as a whole, I think the way they played the mid game
Shot.
was so
Divine
much
in.
smarter.
Magnet Storm isn't quite finding. There it goes.
Ooh.
But a great encore on a Colton Divine. They get the kill on a Colton, but not before a great Zonius prevents the death there. Still going to go down as Wizward is out, but that's 3 for 5 now. Lexar and Saturation, the only two left alive. At this point,
Yeah,
it's a
I
big
think that's game.
game. Anara's
Yeah,
going to step
it's
up
game.
here. He's got the W charge paths. They're both going back to Fountain. Like you said, Raptor, I think that is all but it. Darkside, after an insane game 1 where they were pushed back against the wall, show that they still got the stuff, man. They show us all
Yeah.
that they deserve to be in the top 4 where they are currently, and they take an amazing game 2 here against Divine Ascension Obsidian.
Yeah, they're basically saying game 1 was our warm up game, first game of the day. You know, you never win your first game of the day. They come back strong. They
You
play a
never
much
win.
slower early game.
Big words there, but okay.
And so you just they played much slower, I think, is what I really liked from them. They didn't play into Dow just being chaotic, trying to force fights. They didn't answer that
Mhm.
back, and they played much more to their win condition rather than playing into Dow's. And I'm much more impressed with how they played that game for that reason specifically.
Absolutely. And it goes to show too that, giving them something that's less scale oriented plays a bit more towards kind of their early predecessors or even just the mid game as a whole. And
Mhm.
suddenly Darkseid looks a lot better. So I'm not surprised so much with the victory. I do agree that there's a little mistakes that they needed to pull through and get around, especially the early game seems to be their biggest weakness, but it's fixable, right?
Yeah.
It's fixable.
Yeah, it's both of the issues that I think we saw with these teams are pretty easily adaptable and fixable in the last couple of weeks of the regular season before we get into playoffs. So just as my 1 week tenure comes towards its close, to give my perspective on where I think these teams should look to improve going into playoffs. I think with Dow, it's just cleaning up the individual some of the individual decisions that go through the coordination that I really like to see. I think a lot of people on the team are enabled and able to make a decision, follow through on it, really just go in and have multiple people there to follow up. I really like those strengths. But what I would like to see is just some of the as a whole, like how you approach fights. I think there were a couple of times when, especially in game two, it looked like not everyone was on the same page with where they should have been at the start of the fight. There were a lot of times when I feel like Saturation was kind of positioning similarly to like he was on Graves, but with Kha'Zix, I never
Yeah,
really
it
saw
doesn't
him
work.
get a good flank off. So I think kind of trying to make sure everyone knows what their roles are will really help this team set themselves up for success in those kind of mid game team fights when they're playing a more difficult to execute comp like this. And then for Darkside, I think it really just comes through playing the early game more proactively. I think they're especially in game two, they showed a very strong mid game fighting, late game fighting, and quite decent macro play. But the early game, I think there will be just games like game one where these top teams will just hit them hard, and it's so
Yeah.
hard to come back from those, and it's always so draining that if you're always playing those games where it feels like you're losing early, it can just really build up a weight. So I think just especially through Wizward, trying to find a way to be a bit more proactive in the early game can really take them a long way.
Right. And just to touch on it because it's very important across board narrative wise. So
Yeah.
after that, they pull off 1 point in their standings, going 1-1 here in this game. But I will say Darkside versus Divine Ascension Obsidian in what was the third week. That's what they're if for anyone who doesn't know, there's still another game to be played tonight against these two teams. They just have yet to play it. We're not going to be streaming it, but they are playing it out right after this series. And the big thing is that Darkseid actually won the first game in that last series that they have yet to complete. If Darkseid wins off of this hot streak going into this third game that we're not broadcasting, they will actually supersede the standings and take a huge. They'll actually tie Divine Ascension Obsidian for second place,
Mhm.
which is massive.
Oh,
Because
yeah, like, it's
guess
eh
what? They're
what?
not just tying; they're tying with Redefy Unleashed. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Shadowblade Slash won their first game
Are
ever
you kidding?
against Redefy Unleashed.
Oh,
Shadowblade Slash bring their second set to a
yes,
tie,
let's
winning their
go!
fourth game of the night, their first win ever. Shadowblade Slash has finally won, guys.
I love it. That's so great. That's
But
that's the kind of stuff like, it just goes to show that no matter who you're playing, you can't let your guard down,
no, you
ever.
can't. And because of that, Redefy Unleashed is now in contention for their position all the way up there at the top, which is so important, right? And I
Mhm.
I will say on the separate note too, Florida State versus Merciless, Florida State ekes out both victories against Merciless, which shoots Florida State up into a great position of fourth.
Yeah,
But Merciless, once again, still in major contention for playoffs. If they had
yep,
won, we'd be a little bit more sure of these guys, but at this point, it's clearly up to how Degenerates Reformed will play, and their game tonight is rescheduled, so we'll have to wait for that one. But either way, such a huge set of narratives being developed, and it's a shame. We'll hopefully put like a standings out there so you guys can see all of this awesome, awesome content. But tonight has been a wild night for Light League.
oh, yeah. It's
Shadowblade
been an awesome
Slash is
night.
one. Merciless is on teetering on the edge. Degenerates Reform just beat Redefy Unleashed, and Shadowblade Slash just beat Redefy Unleashed. That's a bad day for Redefy Unleashed, man.
Yeah, it is.
3
That's
games lost.
the whole season, and that's the one game that you lose. That's not the one you want.
Right.
Ugh.
I don't mean to pull away from tonight's set, but my gosh,
No,
it's
no, of
so
course,
important that you
that's
guys know.
incredible.
Do you have any last thoughts to sum up on the Dark Side versus Divine Ascension Obsidian?
I think this is an awesome series where you can kind of see a more mid-game oriented team against a more early game oriented team, and how both can play to their win conditions and uh, take away with a game when it kind of looks like it may be even to leaning towards another side. I think it also shows why just because you're down in the early game, you shouldn't ever give up, and you should always keep playing to your win condition. If you can, then I mean, you come back and you win the game just like this. In games where you can it's 08, I think at one point they were down. And then they came back and they won. So as a whole, it was a ton of fun being here. Really, I love the quality of games coming out from both from all the teams tonight. To be honest, and I'm really going to be excited to get to tune in and watch the playoffs.
Right. Hopefully you'll be able to join us again. We don't know. Maybe we'll invite you on, hopefully as a special guest, especially since you put the work in. But either way, that's going to be all from us here on the Excellency Esports League. We've enjoyed y'all's presence coming through, watching out all of the sets here tonight. We appreciate the support you guys throw our way. If you're looking to throw even more support out, you can subscribe to our Twitch, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, subscribe, whatever. If you really, really love what we're doing, you want to see additional content like that, you can subscribe to our Patreon, throw in a little bit of the money per month. I mean, throwing $2 per month is only $24 per year. That's literally would be massive to us. That allows us to pay our casters so much more and the
Help
staff here. Please help
me.
us if you would. But either way, we do have mid league on Wednesdays, same time. I believe a 6:30 Eastern start. Heavy league as well on Thursdays, 6:30 Eastern start. If you love the Excellency content and you want to see more awesome stuff like pre-shows and better teams of a higher caliber, go check those out. Either way, that's going to be all from us. Big thank you to Heinder Schmidt from coming in to do the production for tonight. Absolutely wonderful job on such a short notice. Photography Raptor, of course, being an awesome color once again on such a short notice. And me, of course, like you see every week, Zephyr, your play by play caster. We
Who
hope
is
you
a robot?
guys, who's a robot sometimes, who's a robot. Hope
I
you
don't
guys
know.
stay safe. Have a good night.